Please listen carefully.
Well, hello, universe, and welcome to the Optimist Daily Update. I'm Kristy Jansen.
And I'm Summers McKay.
And we're part of the team behind the Optimist Daily, making solutions the news. We bring you reader-funded solutions news every day in order to change the tenor of news media, social media, and the direction of your day to one focused on solutions.
7 days a week, we publish positive news stories written by award-winning journalists and delivered online to your inbox and through our social channels. And also, we are sharing these solutions in a commute-worthy, walk-worthy, home office-worthy, hump day-worthy podcast. Today is Wednesday, the 23rd of June, 2021. Hello, Kristy. Happy Wednesday. How are you?
Happy Wednesday. I am well. I'm good. I'm hanging in there. Although got a bit of a cough, which some people are freaked out by.
So you got a cough because you went back out into the world because like everyone who has like an immune system, last week we were talking about how a member of our team was sick and that we really needed to expect that there's going to be a lot of sick people on the team for the next 7 months, right? Like we're all going to get colds because we've been isolated.
Maybe not a lot, but at least some. This last year has been peculiar because we've all been so locked down and so conscious of communicable diseases. There haven't been a lot of those. And also since we've been living at our homes and working at our homes, if you feel a little bit yucky, you don't have to go anywhere. So you kind of just power through. I mean, I don't think anybody took well, I did when I got my appendix out, but other than that, that just happens, right? People are fragile. We're in our own bodies.
Yeah. Well, I'm sorry that you have a little bit of a cough. You and my daughter are back in the same boat. We're on day 2.5 of not being at school. So definitely ready for her to feel better as well as you. But work from home and drink lots of tea and, I don't know, get cozy up and inspired by the news.
And that's what's interesting. So because I don't feel that bad, really. I just have a cough. But I am working from home because I can. Mm-hmm. And in the interest of protecting my colleagues, in case I have something, which for me is not a big deal, but for the next person, it might have a different reaction to this bug. And that's one thing that we've all learned in this last year, that every person has their own unique reaction to things, which sometimes is super mild and sometimes is not so much, depending on the rest of the context.
Well, it's interesting to think about, right? Because has the sick day just gone away because it's just work from home day?
Has the sick day gone the way of the snow day?
Right. Where you just work from home anyway. So I don't know, because I think we still have to hold space for people to get well and for people to
take a break.
Yeah,
and
take a
sleep.
break. Right.
And yes. But this goes right into the story that I want to talk about today, because I know we've got some other concerns in our day. We've got to get to the next meeting that I know you've got with tech.
Wednesdays are always like that, right? We have to fly through the pod to get to the work. But what on the Optimist Daily today do you want to talk about?
So thinking about health and the future, my headline reads 5 medical innovators on the future of hospitals. Because this is a time to think about, where are we going in our medical world? Some tremendous innovations have come out of this last year in relation to vaccine technology, in relation to telehealth, and being able to diagnose different things. And I think that this year, with the emphasis on public health, on wellness, on healing, it might be a transformative moment. So this article interviews 5 different medical innovators, different key people from different health organizations, asking them what they see in the future. What is doctoring going to look like? What is nursing going to look like? What are hospitals going to look like? What is medical teaching going to look like? Are we going to rethink medical care in the future? So this article sort of talks about insights from 5 different leaders in this area. Tom Andriola, who's the Vice Chancellor of Information and Technology and Data and Chief Data Officer at UC Irvine and UCI Health, Nick Patel, who's Chief Digital Officer at Prisma Health, Albert Chan, who's at Sutter Health, Daniel Durand at LifeBridge, and Mark Weissman at Tidal Health Systems. And just to share some of their insights, telehealth is going to be really big in the future, both in the expansion of tech within the hospital room and also in terms of patient monitoring at home, communication with patients, and treatment offline. That's both Tom Andriola and Nick Patel really see that as a key part of the healthcare of the future. The actual location of where services may take place will also be involved there, because if you can have a in-depth diagnostic appointment with your healthcare practitioner while you're in your home, and then they can send you medication, they can prescribe and deliver your service in your home, then that will mean fewer in-person visits. That will mean a greater ability to collaborate with doctors all over the world to determine optimal plans. So that's one idea. Artificial intelligence is going to be big in the future, according to Daniel Germond and Mike Weissman, both for diagnosing diseases. We've written about that, about how AI is turning out to be very able and capable of diagnosing different kinds of cancer. There's issues with it because the algorithms are only as good as the programming that goes into them.
Right.
So, for example, skin diseases, pretty good based on if you have light color skin, but if you have darker skin, not so good, because the data sets that the AI learned on was mostly light colored skin people. So that's an interesting issue that is now being remedied, but it still will be a big component in the future of medicine, most likely. Both collected data, infrared, sound, electrophysiology, pulse oximeter, facial expression can all be fed through advanced AI systems and can help to quickly diagnose and offer treatment plans for patients. But the other thing that I think is really important is talking about adaptability. This is something that Dr. Weissman, who's the Chief Medical Information Officer at Tidal Health System, he thinks, of course, AI will be a chief component, but being able to adapt quickly to a changing environment is something that the hospitals of the future will likely be better equipped to do. This experience has taught us all to be adaptable and resilient in that way. We can't just have these lean supply chains. We can't just assume that the diseases of tomorrow will look exactly like the diseases of today. So there's going to be a greater emphasis on how do you be more adaptable, both for emergency facilities, infection disease, for just treating people and communicating with patients, which is another real, the loss of being able to communicate deeply in person has been, that's something that we've all learned to really value. So I'm sure that we'll take that into consideration as we move into the hospitals of the future. So that's sort of a summary on this. We can talk more about it if you want to, or we can move on to your story.
Well, I think that the future of healthcare is exciting, and it's a little nerve-wracking because we are coming out of just this period of such intense focus that now, as we're going back out into the world, it's a conversation that we will keep on having, and I'm excited by it. And I love solution thinkers like this. I actually have a good friend of mine who is the CEO of SCAN Foundation, which cares for elder adults. Her name is Dr. Mohanty, and she's really talking about how we care for our aging population in a more person-centered way.
Right.
So,
one thing that misses here now, it's interesting that this article focused on the information technology side of things. I do think that having that more human, person-centered relating is going to be also super
is so critical. Right. It's like the technology can help us get through some of the data really fast, but then that allows and hopefully frees up medical practitioners to have more conversations, to have more time, that can be the next chapter
because
for
I think
health and wellness.
I think another big lesson we learned is that there's so many factors that go into how each individual responds to a pathogen, like the virus that causes the COVID. So looking at general health and wellness is going to be super important. Looking at the nutrition that we all subsist upon, looking at other factors like toxins in our home, plastic, for example, right?
Leave my plastic alone.
How our homes are built and what kind of airflow we have and what kind of support systems that we have. So these are all going to be really important in thinking about wellness and in not just the future of hospitals, but how do we care for ourselves and our communities from a person-centered.
Well, Exactly. And it's generational. It's so, as a person centered, right? I'm obviously super aware of and learning about pediatric health because my daughter went back out into the world and has spent so much time getting sick, right? These last 3 months have been really, really rough. And just before this call, I was on the phone with our insurance company because, we relocated, but we still have a residence in California. We are still technically California residents up until the end of this quarter. So we maintained California insurance. Our older children continued to reside in California, but then my own insurance company is not covering my daughter's pediatric urgent care here in Texas. And it's this really unnecessarily complicated conversation about what it could be just that person-centered care. This is about ensuring wellness for people and covering it. Anyway, I think, Kristy, you and I probably should have dedicated the entire pod today for you and I talking about health and wellness and sort of the advent of what's next. And perhaps that even gets us inspired about a theme week. But also looking ahead to what's next, you guys know I constantly bang the drum on circularity, and I really am super into wind turbines as long as they're circular, reusable, recyclable. So it's like the editors knew that, and they found a story to make me inspired and excited today. The headline reads, "Retired wind turbine blades get reincarnated into bridges and railway links." Not that complicated of a concept, except that if you think about these great big, huge pieces of material, basically the UK prediction is that the turbine waste is going to rise from 400,000 tons per year in 2030 to a whopping 2 million by 2050. Huge growth potential market. Everybody was an entrepreneur. The blades, which are difficult to recycle because of how they're made and their size, are now being manufactured in different ways so they can be repurposed into other construction. In addition to the way that they're being repurposed into construction, manufacturers are looking at the different epoxies and ways that they are put together to allow that they can be broken down more easily. Now, obviously, wind turbines have to be super sturdy, super stable to last a very long time, but they also need to not then just go into landfill. So read that story. I'm going to buzz through a few more headlines that we have today. Climate campaigners claim victory over Belgium's inadequate climate policy. Urine tests could accurately diagnose brain tumors early on, leaving you to be able to talk to your doctor. Laurel Hubbard is slated to be the first trans athlete to compete at the Olympics. And there are 4 tips to help remote workers find work-tech balance, especially if you're at home, sick at home, working from home, no sick day. Whoa, too much to think about. That's all today. It's Wednesday. Kristy, let's read us out and get to work.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening to today's Optimist Daily update on this Hump Day Wednesday. We promise to keep sharing positive solutions-based stories with ideas on how you can participate in the changing world and help ensure it is changed for the good. We promise to keep covering current events with accuracy, legitimate sources, and offering you the information we all need to chart new paths for all of us. And if you haven't already, and if you have the means, please consider becoming an emissary on theoptimistdaily.com. And for starting at just $5 a month, you can help support reader-funded independent journalism and be a part of the solution-changing consciousness that addresses our world's biggest challenges with a problem-solving mindset. Please help us keep the Optimist Daily free for everyone who needs it, supported by those of us who can. And that is it. We are good for the day, Summers. Thanks a lot. Happy Wednesday.
You got it. Bye, guys.